This is Raina Campbell, your Chief Dream Driver, and welcome to the No Parking Podcast, where through conversations and discussions with creators like yourself, we'll find interesting approaches to help you take your dreams out of park, put them in drive, and ride towards success. Hi, Dream Drivers. Welcome to episode 74 of the Dreams and Drive podcast. And today, our guest is Gabrielle Simpson, and we're going to be talking about how to build connections, find mentors, and network your way to success. And I am so honored to have Gabrielle on the show because Gabrielle is actually one of my mentors. I met Gabrielle when I was 18 and working as an intern at CBS Corporation. I was put on a project of hers that she was managing, and we have just been close. And Gabrielle has been an important figure in my life ever since. So I'm just so honored to have her on the show, share her own dream driving story, and teach you guys all about how to network your way to success. And when I think about how I learned about networking and how I became such a proponent of informational interviewing and just putting your name out there, after talking to Gabby during this episode, I realized Gabby was one of the first people who showed me the importance of really knowing how to build value-based relationships with others. So you guys are in for a treat today. Some of the things that we talk about is how to be consistent in building your network, the art of informational interviewing, finding mentors and building sustainable relationships, the power of organic mentorship, some of the best advice Gabrielle has ever received when it comes to networking. Gabrielle is a communications and media expert. She also is a career mentor and an NYU graduate adjunct professor. She teaches integrated marketing, digital and social media, advanced public relations, media relations, corporate communications, and event planning. And some of her career highlights have been working at CBS Corporation and NBC. So yes, I really hope you guys enjoy this one. Before we get into the episode, just a few notes. Make sure that you are using the hashtag Dreams and Drive while listening and sharing online. I also encourage you to follow us on social at Dreams and Drive across the board. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We are there, so make sure you are connected with us. And if you want today's show notes, just go to dreamsanddrive.com and click on episode 74. And you can also join our Dreams and Drive community there as well. All right, so let's get ready for another episode in our Driver's Ed series. Hi, Gabby. Welcome to this episode of Dreams and Drive. I am so excited to have you on today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
For you guys who may not know, but Gabby was actually, when did we meet? My first year at CBS when I was an intern. Do you remember? Or was it my second year?
Yeah, it was your first year.
Okay, yeah, and I think I got put on a communications project with you because you were a communications manager at the time at CBS, right?
Correct.
And I remember what we did. I think it was a Big Brothers, Big Sisters internal communications email. And that project seemed like it lasted the whole entire internship because there were so many like revisions and different things that we had to do. So I remember that.
Wow. You want to know something? I use that example when I teach about communication campaigns to my students. So my NYU students literally just reviewed that wow, talk about
really?
Full circle. I absolutely used that in my campaign class. Yes, at NYU. Wow.
Yeah, because it was a multiple week campaign, so we had to send out reminders. And
yes.
And I remember how thorough you were about getting everything right. And here was me as I think I had just graduated from high school. I'm like, why is she making me do so many edits? Like, it's not that serious.
It is that serious. It really is that serious, especially when you're doing something on a global scale at a top media company. It is serious. You don't want to have grammatical errors or the tone not to be a proper reflection of the company. So now you know. Now
yes,
you know more than others how serious that is.
And we, for you guys who may not know, I was a part of the Emma Bone program, which basically allowed me to intern at CBS for 4 consecutive summers. So all those 4 summers, Gabby, you were kind of like my big sister, mentor, and even post-college. So this is why it has been such a pleasure to have you on the show today. Dream Drivers, you have a special treat. I love Gabby. So Hope you guys love her too. But let's get to the first question that I love to start all our interviews with, Gabby. So I want you to close your eyes. Think about Gabby as the young Gabby, 8-year-old Gabby. What inspired you back then? What were your dreams?
When I was a child, I was heavily inspired by my grandparents. Mm-hmm. My grandfather, Walter Simpson, House of Walter, leather and suede. He was a couture fashion designer. And so growing up as a child at my grandparents' house, I would see pictures of Sammy Davis Jr., pictures of just various instrumental Black entertainers that he designed clothes for. James Brown, some of those funky capes that James Brown wore and would throw them off. My grandfather made some of those. So I was absolutely inspired by his vision. My grandfather was a superb athlete. He competed against Jesse Owens in the Olympic Games. He was a scholar, several degrees from Eastern Michigan University and Howard University. I always have to show love to Howard, both of my grandparents, my father's mother, as well as my father's father. My grandparents attended Howard University as well as my mother. So education was always really big. And the fact that education will get you to a spot that you could make all your dreams come true. So I would always look at the successes of my grandparents. My grandmother was a phenomenal writer and poet and pianist, and she was super talented. And my grandparents were born in the early 20s. They actually had my dad quite late. My dad is the youngest of 5. So my grandmother gave birth to my father when she was 49 years old.
What?
Absolutely.
Wow.
So back then, the food was different. People took care of their bodies differently. And my father was completely healthy. But in that, my grandparents were much older, and they could tell me phenomenal stories about growing up in the 1920s, growing up in the 1930s as Black intellectuals and the Harlem Renaissance and all that jazz. And I was so inspired by them that I wanted to overcome adversity, that I wanted to be successful, that I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And my grandmother was both of my grandparents are very religious, very spiritual. So we would pray together about the successes that I one day wanted to have as a little girl. And when I think of success, I definitely think of them.
Did you have a specific career in mind when you were younger, or did that evolve as you went to college?
I actually, when I was younger, my parents used to have my brother and I introduce ourselves. And so my father is named after my brother is named after my father, Tobias Simpson. My father is Tobias Simpson. My brother is Tobias Simpson II. And my name, Gabrielle. So I would say, hi, my name's Gabrielle, and I'm going to be a doctor. And obviously that didn't happen. And my brother would say, my name is Tobias Simpson II, and I'm going to be a lawyer. And that didn't happen either. But we would introduce ourselves as children. We would, have that firm handshake, and we would tell people what we're going to be when we grew up. And that was something that our parents instilled in us. Who are you and who do you want to be? And obviously those things changed. I think the big change factor for me was when I was in high school. When I was in high school, I was editor-in-chief of our school newspaper, which gave me phenomenal experience in writing and being able to be a storyteller. And I take pride in communication. I take pride in being an effective storyteller. And also during that time, our journalism teacher always allowed the editor-in-chief of the newspaper to lead the class. So I was in high school doing lesson plans. I was in high school grading papers, editing, and that also got me into what I do now, teaching at NYU. That prepared me for that, and it prepared me for a job in media and entertainment.
And you grew up in LA, right?
I did. I grew up in Los Angeles. I'm a graduate of Pacific Palisades Charter High School, Pali High, class of 2004. So I am an LA girl through and through. I left LA when I was 17 years old to attend Iona College in Westchester, New York, and I honestly never went back. So I grew up in LA, but I've never lived in LA as an adult. I've been in New York since I was 17.
And one of the things, I know your story, but maybe you can give our dream drivers the cliff notes of Gabby in college, because you were definitely accomplishing a lot and doing a lot. So take us through those college years and how your dreams and aspirations kind of morphed during that critical time in your life.
Absolutely. When I was in college, always being a year younger, I started school early, graduated high school at 17, and a lot of people graduated high school at 17. I was determined to make an impact. I wanted to stay in New York post-graduation, and I knew financially my family would not be able to afford for me to stay in New York. And though Los Angeles is phenomenal, LA is the bomb.com. I love LA. For me, success meant being able to stay in New York on my own, being able to financially provide for myself in New York. And so I got involved in everything. I worked 3 jobs all of college. I finished undergrad in 3 years. So I graduated college when I was 20 years old. I was president of the radio station. I was president of the television station. I was producing and directing, and at Iona College has a phenomenal communications program, which I'm heavily involved with to this day. And so because of going to a smaller campus, I really benefited from being in a television studio. Whenever I wanted to, I had access to cameras. Whenever I wanted to, I had access to editing software. So I just tried to take advantage of every opportunity, any and every leadership opportunity that came across me. I raised my hand, and it tremendously made a difference. I probably from my sophomore year on, I was doing informational interviews. So I tell a lot of my students, my undergraduate students, and I tell a lot of my mentees who are in college, look at the alumni who are in the industries that you want to be in. So what I did is I went to our alumni office. I went to our career development office and I said, please give me a list of all the alumni that work in media and entertainment. I want to know who they are. They need to know who I am. So literally about 50 to 60 people, I reached out, very short, concise emails, put in the subject line of the email, current Iona College scholar, or current president of Iona College Television, something quick and catchy, and just gave them a little short synopsis. I've done my research on you. I'm highly impressed by you. I would love the opportunity to take you to coffee and hear about your career. And pretty much 2 to 3 times a week, I was leaving Westchester, New Rochelle, New York, going into the city, meeting with super successful alumni that worked at ABC, that worked at NBC, that worked at CBS. And I was making relationships. And I also tell my mentees, it should always be a ripple effect. Whenever you meet with someone, you should hopefully by the end of the conversation impress them. And you should be able to comfortably ask, is there anyone else you think I should meet? And for me, when I ended the conversation with that, there was always like, oh, well, you know what? You should connect with this person. This person also went to Iona. This person is from LA. This person does what you aspire to do. And so in that ripple effect, I was constantly meeting people and building my network to the point that when I graduated at 20 years old, I was able to reach out to probably about 100 people in the industry who I had established a relationship with, kept in contact with, would send updates about my career trajectory and my coursework. Even if I was working on a cool project in school, I would let them know about that as I was fostering and building my skills. So when it came time to graduate in 2007, I had a few opportunities on the line, and I absolutely acknowledge that my first corporate job I got from my Iona alumni who I had a phenomenal relationship with. His name is Marty Daly. He's a senior vice president at CBS, and he brought me into CBS on his team, and I'm forever grateful for that.
That was the communications team, right?
Actually, I started off, Marty is a senior vice president of late night sales. And so I started as a sales assistant, which he knew, everyone that knew me knew that I did not want to work in the sales department. I'm a creative person. I like to write. I like to tell stories, and I take pride in being an effective communicator. But Marty, being a senior vice president of sales, said, Gabby, at the time, CBS was the #1 television network in 2007. And he said, we are the #1 television network. This is a phenomenal opportunity for you. I feel confident that though you want to get in communications, you want to be in PR, you can make that happen. So let's get your foot in the door and just work it. And so, I was able to do so. It definitely took some time. I was a sales assistant for 2 years, but in that 2 years, I met with a plethora of senior executives. And CBS is absolutely a small company, in that you can email a senior vice president, an executive vice president, and they will take your email. They will take your call. They would meet with you for coffee. And I did that. And I eventually met with the head of HR, and I eventually met with the chief communications officer and the senior vice president of communications, who is now executive vice president of communications there. And I was fortunate enough in that 2 years to move over to the communications team.
No, that's where I met you, that 2009,
yes,
right?
Yes.
I remember that office. I used to come down there, wind around the hallway, and then sit down at your desk, and you would always be like, hold on, I'm on the phone or something. I would just sit there and look at you work. But how do you think you built the confidence and the discipline? Because I feel like, reaching out to people and making sure that you're following up with people and you're introducing yourself, that's something that not a lot of people will do naturally, and they may even be fearful of doing that. So how did you really make sure that you were showing up for yourself each week and really committing to that process of building your network?
What a great question. Awesome question. So I tell my students this as well. If you want to be in communications, if you want to be in marketing, I also teach integrated marketing at NYU. If you want to be in these types of fields and industries, you have to have confidence. They're very, very competitive fields. I can only imagine the statistics on how many people across the country graduate with a communications degree or a marketing degree. So how do you stand out? How do you get through the clutter, if you will? And the way that you stand out, the way that you get through all of that is that you must have confidence and knowing what you're good at, knowing your unique attributes, knowing what is you and only you, knowing what you bring to the table and being able to put words around that. I think because I say I have the gift of gab, right? Since I was a little girl, I would always tell these lavish stories. And sometimes people would say, what are you talking about? And so I got better at knowing exactly what I was talking about. I got better at my elevator speech. I got better at being able to describe who I am, what I want to do, my dreams and aspirations. And so when young professionals, young adults ask for mentorship, one of the first things I say is, what is your dream? What is your dream job? All right, now that you know what your dream is, what are the steps that you need to get to your dream? And so me knowing my ultimate goal, me knowing what I wanted to do, me knowing what I wanted to enjoy helped to give me confidence, because I can look someone in the eye and say, I want to work in corporate communications. I know my strengths are storytelling. I know my strengths are writing. I know that I am an effective communicator. I know that I work well with senior executives. I know that I work really well being able to build trust with leaders. And so that helped. And knowing little techniques, being concise, knowing that people are extremely, extremely busy. But for the most part, people will help you. People are helpful people, but what's the benefit for them? So being able to communicate what you can get out of this. So for me, being a young millennial, perhaps a senior executive knew nothing about social media. So, hey, maybe I could teach you some things about social media. Maybe I can teach you what's hot right now with Snapchat, for instance.
During this early part of your career, did you have a mentor, or were you in the process of finding one? And if so, what did you do to find one?
I actually did have mentors, being that when I was in undergrad, I reached out to so many alumni to try to build relationships with them. A lot of them took me under my wing. And Marty Daly, who is still at CBS, he was quite instrumental. And he was someone that I would call and say, hey, this is happening. I will also acknowledge my friends and my peers. In 2006, 2007, I interned with ABC with Live with Regis and Kelly. And my fellow interns at Live with Regis and Kelly, some of them literally were just at my house last week for my 30th birthday party. That network helped me tremendously. So my fellow peers who are in the industry who I could say, hey, have you guys experienced this? How would you guys navigate this? Or even to be able to talk about compensation and salary to make sure that you're properly getting the industry standard. I always tell my students, know that the other people in this classroom are your network, are your strength, the relationships they know, the connections they know. So I had my alumni, I had professors that I had great relationships with. I had alumni that I had established relationships with, but my fellow interns, to this day, it was 10 of us. I'm still close with each and every person. And when I'm navigating the industry, they are the people who I call, who I text, who I meet up with in person.
That is so amazing. And I feel like it just speaks to just how important really keeping in touch with your network is. Because you could have easily said, hey, I'm at CBS now, bye. But you didn't, and it paid off that you didn't. But do you think, because there's a lot of people who are listening in who are creatives, who want to be entrepreneurs. They may never want to go the corporate route. Do you think still having a mentor makes sense?
Oh, absolutely. Mentorship is phenomenal. It is phenomenal, and it is a blessing to be able to throw ideas off of someone. It is a blessing to be able to speak to someone who did what you did before. I know the whole aspect of being a creative is something that's new and fresh, but if you really know your history about the industry, creatives have been around for a very long time. There are extremely successful entrepreneurs. And your mentor doesn't necessarily have to be in your specific industry doing exactly what you want to do. It absolutely helps. But a mentor can also be someone that has an entrepreneurship mind. It could be someone that runs their own business because you strive to have your own business. It could be someone that, is a phenomenal content producer because you want to produce your own content. So as an educator, I'm extremely passionate about education, and I always strive to learn more and make sure I'm continuously learning and growing. And I think that's how you perfect your craft, is that you're continuously learning and growing. In order to be successful in your career, you have to continuously learn and grow. And mentorship helps out with that because there's someone that you can continuously learn from. It may be something specific that you're dealing with. You can call them about it. They may not have the same situation, but they may have someone in their back pocket, someone in their network who they can say, hey, you know what? I know the perfect person you need to speak to, or let me speak to this person about that and get back to you. I am really, really big on mentoring because mentoring honestly has been a blessing to my life.
Mm-hmm. Is there a mistake that you think a lot of millennial professionals are making now when thinking about how they're crafting their careers?
A big mistake, well, kind of on the mentorship tip. Some people will say, hey, just ask someone to be your mentor. I absolutely disagree with that. And I disagree with asking someone for help right away, someone that you don't even know, because that person has no reason to help you. Why is that person going to open their network? Why is that person going to open up that secret black book when they don't even know you? And so organic relationships, making sure things aren't forced, being realistic. I do recognize that there are talks, and I've been in conference rooms. I've been on conversations where people would drag millennials and say, oh, they're a millennial. They just want to hop, skip, and go to the top. And I don't think it's that as a millennial, we want to hop, skip, and get right to the top. Mm-hmm. We have our vision in mind. We have our dreams in mind. And so if you are working on a game plan and you know what you need to do to get to the finish line, you're going to work towards that. And so I think a mistake that millennials do is asking people to be their mentors and not letting it happen organic and letting everyone see your steps. You could be working towards your dream and you don't necessarily have to be extremely vocal about it. You don't have to let everyone know all the desires of your heart. Sometimes you need to be secret sensitive and think strategically and know the people that you're dealing with, know how they would react to say, that perhaps I have a side hustle or perhaps I have my own business on the side. Not everyone will embrace that. Does that make sense?
No, that makes a lot of sense. But what if you getting a mentor never happens organically? Like, what if no one ever really kind of takes you under their wing, or you just aren't ever, it just never aligns? And what do you do next?
So let's say you don't organically have a mentor, then you should make contacts and you should work on your network for people who do what you want to do and develop friendships. It doesn't have to be a mentor that gets you to the top. It could be a friend that gets you to the top.
So we're going to take a little break from the episode just so that we can do our listener question and answer. And this question comes from Annette, and she filled out the Dreams and Drive listener survey at dreamsanddrive.com/survey. And I thought her question was really interesting. So Annette's question is, how old are you and when is your birthday? So I don't think I've ever talked about my age specifically on the podcast, but when I first started the podcast, I was 24 years old. I'm now 25. My birthday is May 20th. Yes, I am a Taurus for all you guys listening in. We also have another question that I'm getting from the Dreams and Drive survey. And this question is from Jennifer. And Jennifer was actually the winner of our The Keys by DJ Khaled book giveaway. So Jennifer's question to me is, what have been your challenges when it came to getting your business off the ground? What were your biggest challenges this first quarter? So I think one of the biggest challenges for me was just getting started. Having a podcast was something that I definitely wanted to do for a while, but I was just so nervous. And if you guys listen to episode 2, that tells the whole story of how I got started. And I think that for a lot of people, it's hard to get out of park. So for me, getting out of park was definitely a big challenge. I think something now that I'm working towards in the first quarter was just how to monetize the podcast. So as you guys know, we had an episode sponsor for 4 episodes early in the year, and that was Curly Clips. And I love that partnership. But I'm looking into other ways to which I can really build the platform and start monetizing. And for me, the monetization part has always been a struggle. I am so good at helping other people figure out their monetization strategies, but sometimes it's hard when you are working by yourself, when you're an entrepreneur. So what I've actually done is I've now part of a mastermind group with 2 other women, and it's coached by a fabulous woman named Sophia Satterwhite. And I'm part of that accountability group and mastermind. It has really helped me focus in on what my monetization strategy for Dreams and Drive is going to be in 2017. So I'm really excited about the things that I have been working on. I'm officially an LLC. I wasn't one before. I have my Dreams and Drive debit card, which is so cool. So yeah, those have really been the challenges for me, is monetization, because my end goal, as a lot of guys know, is I want to have my own media company one day. I want Dreams and Drive to be a platform bigger than what it is now. But you have to start somewhere, and laying the foundation to start somewhere is something that a lot of us are always working on. So thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, Annette, for those questions. And as I mentioned before, if any of you want to sponsor a Dreams and Drive episode, you want to reach this great Dreams and Drive community, please email me at raina@dreamsanddrive.com, and we can talk about some ways that we can partner up. All right, so let's get back to this episode and learn why Gabby said that sometimes your friends, the people that you build relationships, professional friendships, why those people will be crucial to you getting ahead and forging great connections. That is so true. And how did that route ever work in your own life? And if so, could you give us an example?
Yeah, absolutely. So a few people come to mind. A friend of mine, Brittany Forgione. Brittany's currently at AOL. She's director of communications at AOL. Brittany and I graduated college together. We were interns together at ABC. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Brittany, she attended Hofstra University, in Long Island. And Brittany has she's a gorgeous girl, but she has a phenomenal radio voice. like when you hear her voice, it's like breathtaking. And I think she did want to be on radio, and then she did some producing as a TV producer. And then she eventually got to PR versus my undergraduate degree was in television, video, and film. So I did want to be a TV producer. My very first job was in production at Live with Regis and Kelly. And then I immediately went back to school for my master's in sports and entertainment PR. So I knew before Brittany that I wanted to be in PR. I started working to be in the industry prior. But Brittany eventually got there just the same. And so Brittany is someone that she'll call me for some contacts. She'll call me to bounce off ideas, and I feel comfortable enough doing the same. Brittany is not my mentor. She is absolutely my friend. And on another level, let's say she needs something personally, even though we are friends through our career, I would be there for her because she's truly a friend. Someone else, Emily Graham, is a group vice president at MWW, a top PR firm. Emily and I met because we were both on the board of directors for the New York chapter of Black Public Relations Society of America. So we were both board members together, and we absolutely clicked. And with Emily being in the industry, same thing like Brittany. I will call her. I will bounce ideas off of her. Emily is somewhat senior to me in that she is already a vice president, and she's young as well. She's a year older than me. And so a friend who I can call, who I can bounce ideas off to, a friend that perhaps can look over some of my work. And I do the same for my friends. Sometimes it may be not something for their regular corporate job. It may be something for their personal job. They'll ask me to copy edit. Another person that comes to mind is LaTanya Story. LaTanya has been a PR veteran for 20 years. She specifically works in sports. She's repped a lot of NFL players. She is the go-to sports PR person. I love sports. I never worked directly in sports. Being in corporate at CBS, at NBC, I may do something for CBS Sports. I may work with the NBC Sports team, but my day-to-day is not sports. Nonetheless, me and LaTanya have a phenomenal relationship. And the thing about marketing, the thing about communications, it's the same techniques. It's the same tactics. So even though you may be in one industry, the same techniques will go into another industry. So these are people who are my friends, not mentors. They are my friends. And if I needed any counsel, if I needed any advice, I can easily call them, text them. They'll take my call anytime.
And I feel like those relationships are just as important to build. So not only thinking about just only having mentors, you need those people and that you can call on and that are genuinely there for you, you know?
Absolutely.
So I want to ask you about this, because I know when we were an intern, I think when I was an intern, you had just started to teach. Was it at St. John's?
I actually started as a guest lecturer at Iona after I got my master's in 2009. But St. John's, I think that was around the time that I joined St. John's. I absolutely love St. John's. Teaching there was phenomenal. The students are so diverse in ideas, diverse in background. It was a phenomenal time teaching at St. John's. I really loved it.
So what made you decide to pursue, professorship, and still work a corporate job? Because the two are very demanding. And how did you balance the two? And what did CBS think about that?
Well, like I said, back in high school, I was teaching our journalism class. When I was at Iona undergrad, I had many hustles, paying rent in New York and paying for school. So I would teach Saturday school at New Rochelle High School. I would do tutoring at New Rochelle High School. So since I was 16 years old, I've essentially been teaching in different ways. And so one of the main reasons why I got my master's, understanding that you don't need a master's in communications. You don't necessarily need a master's in marketing. An MBA is something else, but nowadays there's MS programs and MA programs for marketing. I didn't necessarily get my master's to say I'm a master's of the field. I'm a master of the industry. One of the main reasons why I obtained my master's is because I wanted to teach. I had a close friend, Gina Ignatowski. Gina went to Iona undergrad and grad. As soon as she finished her master's, she started teaching as an adjunct professor, introduction to history. She was a history major. And so she was a year older than me. And I said, wow, Gina, I want to do that. And so when I was finishing my master's, I spoke to all the chairs of the department at Iona. I made it very clear that I was working in the industry because I was working at CBS. So I was getting industry experience and I wanted the opportunity. Can I start off with just an entry to mass comm? Can I come be a guest lecturer? And they afforded me the opportunity to do so. And then by the time I got to St. John's University, I was already manager of communications at CBS, working on cool things from the Super Bowl to launch of shows, to internal communications and financial communications. And I got the corporate communications team at CBS is small. So it's awesome that I got a phenomenal bit of experience. And so when I went to my supervisor at CBS, Dana McClintock, and I said, Dana, I finished my master's. I've been doing some guest lecturing. As you know, I have a wonderful opportunity to teach at St. John's. He was all for it. He was extremely supportive. Everyone thought it was wonderful. I had all the support in the world. And I taught at night. So let's say a night that I had class, perhaps I came in the office an hour early. Class started at 7:00. So even me leaving at 6:00, 1 or 2 days a week wasn't the worst thing. And I would tell my students, hey guys, I have to check my email periodically. I have to check my phone sporadically. I apologize in advance. And there were instances where perhaps I had to walk out of class and take a phone call or answer an email. But my team was extremely, extremely supportive about it. And just how things go full circle. One of my students at St. John's, Holly Trans, Holly went to get her master's at NYU. She has a master's in corporate communications from NYU. And she, after she finished the program, told her professors at NYU, there's a professor, Gabrielle Simpson, at St. John's. She was my professor. She was my favorite professor. She's phenomenal. You need her at NYU. And so she made that connection happen for me. And in the same return, once Holly finished her master's at NYU, I was able to help her to get a full-time job at NBC Universal. Holly's currently on the PR team at MSNBC. So just how one of my former students blessed me to help me get into NYU in a teaching capacity is such a blessing.
That really is a blessing. And it just goes to show you, if you, in the short, if you do people right, they'll do you right too. You know what I mean? Like, let's say you were like a horrible professor who didn't know what you were doing. She probably wouldn't have that good stuff to say about you. So I really think it's like knowing your craft and making sure you are always bringing your best is always going to, bring rewards at the end of it. But Gabby, one of the things that I really admire about you is just how honest you are with your mentees. Even with me, if I send you an email and the grammar is off, you'll be like, hey, did you read the email before you sent it to me? Why do you think being very astute about presentation and how you're delivering yourself, especially as a young professional, is so important?
You are your brand. Everything that you set forth in front of someone, whether it be an email, whether it be a voicemail, whether it be a text message, is a representation of your brand. And you should care tremendously about your brand because your brand is what people say when you're not in the room. Mm-hmm. Your brand is what's going to elevate your career, your trajectory. And so for those who I care about, sometimes I get emails with grammatical errors and I just let it go to the side, or, perhaps this person was in a hurry. But for those who I mentor or those I truly care about, I let them know. And in the same facet, I'm absolutely not perfect. And so I appreciate those who do the same for me. My mentor, Tiffany Smith Anawai. Tiffany is EVP, Executive Vice President of Communications and Diversity at CBS. Tiffany, in a heartbeat, will let me know if something's not right. Tiffany will, and that's what a good mentor does. I look up to Tiffany. She's phenomenal. She's amazing. And so with me having mentors, kind of the things they do for me, Tiffany and I have check-ins. check-ins. She puts me on her calendar. So twice a month or so, or once a month, we have a 30-minute check-in to say, okay, what are you working on? Are you moving towards your dream? Are you on the right path? And then some of my mentors who I think need that extra attention, I'll say, okay, make sure we have a monthly call. Make sure we have a monthly check-in. And it's because of my mentor that I even know to do that.
What's the best advice you ever got from one of your mentors?
Say that one more time. I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
What's the best advice you ever got from one of your mentors about, pursuing your dreams or navigating your career?
Honestly, the best advice that I've ever heard about my career wouldn't necessarily come from my mentor. It would come from my grandmother, and it would come from the Bible. And it would be, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. And so despite what anyone may say, despite how people may feel as a woman of God, I truly believe in my heart and everything in me that I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that kind of guides me. I may get a slam door. I may hear a no every once in a while, but I know what is for me is for me. And I know greater is me that I have God in me. Right. So that kind of, that's truly the premise of who I am. It's the essence of who I am, and it helps me to navigate everything that I do.
And on your site, you have the quote, know what you're good at and what you enjoy. Where that path meets is exactly where you're supposed to be. How did that quote play out in your own life?
I feel like since a young age, I've always put ideas out into the world. I've always put my dreams out into the world. And I'm always looking, day by day, I'm looking at, okay, what am I doing to move higher? What am I doing to climb my own ladder, a ladder that I create? And it's me knowing what I want to do. It's me knowing the steps that I need to take. And some of that can be from basic research, right? Looking at what others have done before me, looking at sometimes the check marks of things you need to do for success, right? So let's say you want to start your own business. You may need to come up with some capital. You may need to come up with some investors. You may need to come up with some interns who will help you with your vision, who will work for free. So that kind of is where it came from. Me in my personal life, looking at what I want to do, looking at, am I on the right path to fulfill my dreams, to fulfill my personal destiny that I've set out for myself.
And I mentioned your site. Maybe I should give it a formal acknowledgement. You recently launched giftofgabrielle.com. Why did you know what sparked that, and what are you hoping your next chapter looks like?
Absolutely. So I actually launched the site on March 3rd, which was my 30th birthday. And just me being the planner that I am and me always outlining things, I personally had a lot of goals that I wanted to accomplish by my 30th birthday, and me trying to look ahead to see what can help me to reach my goals closer. Being a media professional and a branding professional and a branding specialist, a website is imperative. And so I knew that I needed to take some time, come up with some content that is worth people's while, that is hopefully engaging and inspiring, because I personally look for inspiration. I look to be engaged in different ways. And so the background on me launching my website is me giving more to the world, giving more to the universe in this 30th chapter, in this 30th year of life, and me hopefully getting closer to all of my dreams.
Is there a specific goal that you have for the site? Because I know that you on it, if you go, you have a tab for like speaking. So you want to get into more speaking engagements. Is there like a new branch of the Gabrielle brand that you're now trying to build up?
Yes, I've had the tremendous opportunity in my various corporate roles. I've had a tremendous opportunity to do quite a bit of speaking. And it is something that I tremendously enjoy, going back to the whole gift of gab that I feel like I've organically had when my parents named me Gabrielle. And so in teaching, in lecturing, being a communications professional, that is something that I've been privy to, and I definitely want to do more speaking engagements. And for me, I I strive for my site to be a place of inspiration, a place to get advice. I will have a post. I will be having weekly blog posts. And some of those blog posts will be 5 steps that helped me to get to where I am right now, or 5 steps to help you better brand yourself, or some mistakes that I wish I did not make. Being brutally honest, I have absolutely made mistakes in my career. And so I just wanted to be a place that perhaps people in the millennial space, fellow creatives, can go and check out and get some inspiration.
Oh, so you mentioned mistakes, and I feel like as dream drivers, we're going to encounter mistakes along our journey. Can you tell us one of the mistakes you made and how you, how you bounced back or what you learned from that experience?
Yes. So some of my mistakes have been earlier in my career, understanding that there's a hierarchy. You do not deal with, and this is in the corporate sector, you don't deal with the executive vice president the same way that you deal with the coordinator, and that you kind of need to be extremely concise. You need to get to the point. You need to reassure them that everything is up to par. And so one thing that I learned, and I let my mentees know, I let my coordinators know, I let my interns know, etc., is that when you realize that something is wrong, quickly try to come up with a solution so that when you go to whomever to say, hey, this is the problem at hand, but I've already fixed it. This is the problem. This is the solution. Just wanted to bring it to your attention so that though you're giving them a problem, you've already solved it. And let's say it's a tremendous problem. It's a tremendous issue. You incorrectly did something. You need to let them know. Taking responsibility for your actions and taking responsibility for your faults, apologizing, not putting the blame on anyone else. When someone says, well, how did this happen? If you are the reason, be honest and say, I incorrectly did this or whatever. But I really, really, really strive to, when I come to someone with a problem, I have already solved it. I have a resolution for it. This is the problem, but it's already fixed. Just making sure you're aware.
And I feel like that helps people take you or respect you even more. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. And I think for the most part, people respect honest people, and people respect people who will call themselves out. I don't need you to call me out. I'll call myself out. I made a mistake, but hey, I solved it. Or this is by far a lesson learned. This will not happen again. And that's really important, being millennials, that when you make a mistake and you realize what your mistake is, that you learn, and that, God willing, it does not happen again.
If you could do it over, would you rework any part of your journey?
No, my journey has been a tremendous blessing. Something that I say, people always ask, how did you graduate college in 3 years? And so my best friend, Daniela Mocha, Daniela let me know in college that she's brilliant. She works at Bridgewater, a hedge fund, one of the top hedge funds. She's absolutely brilliant. So in college, she was a finance accounting major. She has her MBA as well. In college, she said, do you know that our tuition covers 18 credits? I said, what do you mean? And she said, your tuition in the United States, you pay full tuition. You could take up to 18 credits, which means you can graduate early, which means why are we here for so long? And I said, you know what? I'm going to do that. And so I was strategic in that I took 18 credits, but my last credit would be something like dance. It would be something like art. It would be something like sculpture, that I didn't overwhelm myself, especially because I was working 3 jobs. And in doing that, it saved me a little bit of money in that I finished my undergraduate degree in 3 years. Knowledge is power. If she didn't tell me that, I would not have known that you could take up to 18 credits. And depending on your college or university, Iona, the Mass Comm program, it's liberal arts. So I had the option to take electives. I had the options to take a dance, a sculpture, an art class, a creative class, if you will. And so these little gems, I try to give back to people to say, hey, for me, college was extremely expensive. I had some scholarship, but it was expensive overall. And so little things like that helped out.
Are there any challenges that you're working through right now? Because, we talked about a lot of positive things, but I feel like some people listening in may be discouraged because they're going through some things in life. So maybe you could talk to us about something that you're currently working through and how you're doing that.
I think when you are going through something, it's really, really important to work through it, to push through it, right? Pray until something happens. And so if you're going through a hard time, you should still be working on something. You should never be working. So let's say you're not necessarily happy in your day-to-day role. So what are you doing on the side to get you to your dream? What are you doing on the side that's helping you to elevate, to get out of the day-to-day role that you really don't like? And I think a lot of young professionals, your first couple jobs are probably not going to be your dream job. You're taking a job, you're grateful, you need to pay some bills, you need to pay your college loans back. But okay, you do this to have your health benefits, you do this to pay the bills. But on the flip side, what are you doing to get you to your dream? What are you doing to drive your vision further? And I think that's why so many millennials do have side hustles or do work on side projects or do freelance work. Knowing that you have the capability to do whatever your heart desires. And that may be you doing it by yourself. That may be you getting together with some friends who have a like vision, who also have like interests, that you guys could work together. You don't necessarily have to do things by yourself. Going back to your network, going back to people you went to school with, going back to people you interned with, they probably have like interests. They probably have like dreams. Maybe they're trustworthy enough that you guys can work on a project together to strengthen your skills. Mm-hmm. And all of these side things, what they're really doing is strengthening your skills. What they're really doing is giving you more content to put on LinkedIn, more content to put on your resume, and making you stronger.
Mm-hmm. So can you give us a specific example of one challenge that you really had to work through in your career and how you did it?
A challenge I had to work through in my career. I think for me, a big challenge has been balancing time. Rather, I had to travel for work and I had class that night, which means wherever I was traveling to, I needed to find a quaint location to have class online and to have class through Skype or to have class through an online means. For me, a lot of my challenges have been time management because I am in so many places and I sign up to do so much, but it is a blessing. It is absolutely a blessing to have multiple things that you need to do, to be able to have to say, okay, my calendar is my life. I need to look on my calendar. I can't do this at this time. I can only give you 15 minutes here. We need to wrap this meeting up. Or, I need times to work on midterms. I need some time to grade papers. I need time to work on lesson plans, teaching integrated marketing, teaching digital media, social media, teaching corporate communication strategies. My lessons have to be fresh. I can't just throw in something I taught a few years ago because it's not applicable anymore. So finding that time, that balance. And then I think work-life balance is important too. Having a social life, spending time with friends, not being all about career, not being all about work, balancing all of those things. And that's been a challenge for me. My friends are so important to me. And sometimes I feel like I'm missing out on some of their successes, or I may miss a birthday party. I may miss drinks. I may miss happy hour. So that's something that I'm still working on, is making sure that I'm present. I'm present in all the places I need to be.
And in closing up then, what does happiness and what does success look like to Gabrielle?
Happiness is fulfilling the desires of your heart. Happiness is fulfilling the desires that God has for you. Happiness is being able to smile throughout the day. Happiness is being able to laugh just because. And what was the second question?
And I said, oh, shoot. I think it was, what does success look like for you now? Success now, because I feel like it's probably changed, or I don't know, maybe it hasn't, but what does success look like for you now?
What does success look like for me? Success honestly looks like happiness. Success doesn't look like I have all the money in the world. Success doesn't look like I can go on a shopping spree. Success looks like happiness. Are you happy? Do you smile when you wake up in the morning? Is there an extra joy when you talk about your career? If you talk to someone about your day to day, do you smile during that conversation? Success is happiness. To be happy is to be successful.
Thank you, Gabby. And I'm just, for dream drivers listening in, like I've had admired Gabby for so long. This is going to sound like a love letter right now, but you've definitely been an inspiration and motivation to me and have been such a support through my own professional and personal endeavors. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on this show and for sharing your expertise. And I really hope that everyone listening in just is inspired by your words as I have been. But let's get to our lightning round, Gabby. So this part of our interview, I'm going to give you a prompt, and I want you to tell me the first word that comes to mind. And remember, this is sticking with our whole dreams and drive metaphor. Okay?
Awesome.
All right. The first word is park.
Listen.
Reverse.
Full circle.
Neutral.
Stand still.
Drive.
Success.
And if you want to be a dream driver, you have to have your keys to success. So tell me 3 things, Gabby, that you think every dream driver needs in their toolkit before they hit the road.
Ambition, courage, skills.
And why are those so important?
I think if you're not passionate about what you're doing, no one else is going to be. So you being ambitious, you really wanting to do whatever it is that your heart desires, other people would be interested in it too.
Yeah, well, Gabby, thank you so much. Can you tell our dream drivers where they can find you online?
Yes, I'm my Twitter is _ gift of gab _ Again, that's _ gift of gab _ I'm on LinkedIn / Gabrielle Simpson. My website, which has all of my information and all of my contact. You can email me as well on my website. It is giftofgabrielle.com, GIFTOFGABRIELLE, giftofgabrielle.com. All right. I just want to say, Raina, you make me so very proud. I have a lot of mentees, and every time I see something that you're working on, whenever I see you driving your dreams home, and whenever I see you doing great things, it inspires me. I am so, so proud of you. I am so proud of your podcast. I am so proud of the multiple things you do. And I tell you, you're going to be the next Oprah, and I truly believe that. And I am so proud of you. It's an honor to be your mentor.
Thank you, Gabby. And it's funny, in episode 48, Levante, Vanessa.
Yes.
She talks about how, it's funny how this is coming back full circle. So for people listening, if you listen to episode 48, in that episode, Levante talks about the person that connected us, and that was Gabby. So now we've come full circle on the podcast with another episode. So that's pretty cool too.
Awesome. I love it.
All right. Talk to you soon, Gab.
Thank you, Raina, so much. Congratulations on everything.
All right. So that's a wrap for episode 74. I hope that you guys enjoyed hearing Gabrielle share her dream driving story as well as her keys to success. And as you know, this episode was all about how to build connections, find mentors, and network your way to success. And one of the things that is crucial in order to be successful in doing so is actually doing it. Don't be scared to reach out to people who you think may be valuable to learn from, or people that you just genuinely want to build relationships with. If you're genuine about it and if you're using the right approach, people will want to talk to you. And I encourage anybody who has any questions for me, reach out to me. People who have reached out to me via social, I always try to respond back. I think that I know how important it was for people who responded to me when I was just starting out. So, be concise, be specific with what you want from that connection that you're trying to build, and just be genuine in sparking and igniting relationships. So I encourage you guys all to get out there and to start building your own. If you haven't already, please, please, please take our listener survey. So the listener survey can be found at dreamsanddrive.com/survey. And I'm closing closing it on April 15th. And this survey has been so great so far. I love reading all the responses that you guys are giving and just learning about you dream drivers a little bit more, some of your challenges and some of the things that you want us to talk about in future episodes. So if you have feedback or you have an opinion about Dreams and Drive, make sure that you let your voice be heard and fill out the survey at dreamsanddrive.com/survey. I'm going to be selecting 5 winners, and you guys will be receiving a Visa, Amazon, or Starbucks gift card. So make sure that you are part of that group that gets entered to win one of those. As always, you can get our show notes at dreamsanddrive.com and click on episode 74. And I also want to remind you that if you have not already, make sure that you are subscribed to our channel wherever you're listening, iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play. Hit that subscribe button so that you get notified every time we have a new episode. We're going to have another episode for you, episode 75, so make sure you are tuned in for that. Keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat soon.